I, 34M, think my wife, 32F, has been lying to me for months, and I'm starting to realize I ignored all the red flags. So yeah, I never thought I'd be the guy posting here, but here we are. My wife and I have been married for 6 years, together for almost 10. For the longest time, I thought we were solid. Not perfect, but stable. You know, the kind of relationship where you stop questioning things because you trust the foundation. But looking back now, I think things started shifting about 5 to 6 months ago. At first it was small stuff. She'd snap at me over nothing, like I'd ask a normal question, "Hey, what time are you home?" And she'd respond like I was interrogating her. Then came the little lies. And I mean obvious ones. Like saying she was at work, but I could hear traffic and music in the background. When I asked about it, she'd double down, get defensive, flip it on me. I told myself she was just stressed. Work had been rough for her lately. I didn't want to be that paranoid husband. But then the late nights started. And that's when things really began to feel off. The late nights didn't hit all at once. It crept in. At first it was, "I have to stay a bit longer, we're short-staffed." Totally believable. She's used that excuse before, and it checked out. But then it became a pattern. 2 nights a week turned into 4. Then suddenly she had team drinks every Friday, which was new because she used to hate going out with coworkers. What really got me wasn't just that she was coming home late. It was how she came home. Cold, distant, irritated. I tried to ask how her night was, and she'd either give one-word answers or snap like I was bothering her. One time I hugged her when she walked in, and she physically pulled away and said, "Can you not? I'm exhausted." That one stuck with me. And then there was her phone. She used to leave it lying around all the time. Suddenly, it was glued to her hand. Screen always face down. Notifications muted. She even started taking it into the bathroom with her, which she never did before. I remember this one moment really clearly. Felt small at the time, but now it plays in my head nonstop. She got a message while we were watching TV. I wasn't even trying to look, but I caught a glimpse of her face. She smiled. Not like a normal smile, like a soft, almost shy kind of smile. I hadn't seen her smile like that at me in months. When I asked who it was, she didn't even hesitate. Just work stuff. And I don't know why, but that's when my gut started screaming that something wasn't right. I still ignored it though. I really wanted to be wrong. I think the first time I almost caught her in a lie, I convinced myself I was overthinking it. It was a Tuesday. She texted me around 7:30 p.m. saying she'd be staying late again because of some last-minute issue at work. Same script as always. I just replied, "Okay, drive safe." But here's the thing. I had this random gut feeling I couldn't shake. Not even a full suspicion, just something off. So around 9, I checked her location. We share locations. Always have. Never thought twice about it before. Except she wasn't at work. She was across town, in a part of the city that had nothing to do with her office. Like, not even close. At first I thought maybe it was a glitch. Tech messes up sometimes, right? I stared at the map for a solid minute, hoping it would refresh and fix itself. It didn't. I texted her casually. "Hey, everything okay at work?" She replied almost immediately. "Yeah, just busy." Why? I remember my hands actually shaking a bit at that point. I looked at the map again. Same location. Definitely not her workplace. So I pushed just a little. "Thought you'd be home earlier tonight." And this is where it got weird. She didn't respond for 20 minutes. Then, "I told you I'm working. Can you not start this?" Start what? That hit me harder than I expected. I wasn't even accusing her of anything. But she jumped straight to defense mode. I didn't reply after that. Just sat there, staring at my phone, feeling this slow, creeping realization in my chest. Something wasn't lining up. And for the first time, I started wondering if this wasn't just stress or distance or a phase. What I didn't know yet was how much worse it was about to get. After that night, something in me shifted. I stopped blindly trusting everything she said. Not in an aggressive, confrontational way, more like I started noticing, paying attention to the details I used to brush off. And once I started noticing, it was like everything got louder. She'd tell me she was too tired to talk, but then I'd hear her quietly laughing in the other room on her phone. She started guarding her screen like it contained state secrets. Even the way she typed changed, tilting the phone away, quick to lock it if I walked by. Then came another weird moment. She told me she had an early meeting one morning and had to leave the house by 7. That's unusual for her. She's not a morning person at all. But okay, sure. I woke up around 7:30 and realized she was still home. Her car was outside. No noise. Nothing. I got up, went to check, and found her in the kitchen, already dressed, but just standing there, scrolling through her phone. Not rushing, not stressed. Just waiting. When she saw me, she flinched. Like I caught her doing something wrong. I asked, "Didn't you say you had a meeting?" And without missing a beat, she goes, "It got pushed." No explanation. No mention of it earlier. Just that. The thing is, her tone wasn't casual, it was sharp. Defensive again. Like I was the problem for asking. I didn't push it. I just nodded and went back to the bedroom. But my mind wouldn't let it go. Why lie about something so small? That question stuck with me the entire day. Because if she could lie that easily about something minor, what else was she lying about? And yeah, that's when the thought finally crossed my mind. Not just something's off, but she might be cheating. I hated myself for even thinking it. But once it's there, you can't unthink it. I wish I could say I handled that thought like a rational adult. I didn't. Once the idea got into my head, it started connecting dots I hadn't even realized were there. Every weird interaction, every late night, every sharp response, it all started forming this picture I didn't want to see. But I still didn't have proof. And part of me clung to that. Like, as long as I didn't know, maybe I could still be wrong. Then something happened that pushed me over the edge. It was a Saturday afternoon. She was in the shower, and her phone was on the bed. That almost never happened anymore. She usually took it everywhere. I wasn't planning to check it. I swear. I even remember telling myself, "Don't be that guy." And then it buzzed. Just once. I glanced at it. Just a reflex. The screen lit up, and I saw a name I didn't recognize. No contact photo. Just a first name. And a message preview that said, "Last night was a lot. Are you okay?" I felt like my stomach just dropped out of my body. I picked up the phone before I could talk myself out of it. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped it. Locked. Of course it was locked. She never used to lock her phone around me. Ever. I just stood there, staring at the screen, waiting for it to go dark. And in that moment, everything felt painfully clear. People don't text, "Last night was a lot," after work meetings. I put the phone back exactly where it was and sat down, trying to act normal, but my head was spinning. When she came out of the shower, she acted like nothing was wrong. Just casual, even slightly annoyed about something random, like we were living in two completely different realities. And I realized something in that moment. I didn't just suspect it anymore. I was scared of confirming it. Because once it's real, there's no going back. That message messed with my head more than I want to admit. I spent the rest of the day pretending everything was normal, but inside I was spiraling. Every time she looked at her phone, every time it buzzed, I felt this tight knot in my chest. I kept replaying the words, "Last night was a lot. Are you okay?" Who even sends that? And what does a lot mean? I started noticing even more after that. Like she'd randomly smile at her phone again, then immediately wipe it off if I looked at her. Or she'd angle her body away from me while texting, like it was some automatic reflex. That night, she said she was going to bed early. Which, yeah, didn't happen. About 20 minutes after she went into the bedroom, I heard her quietly talking. Not loud. More like a hushed, almost careful tone. I couldn't make out words, just the rhythm of it. I stood in the hallway like an idiot, trying to convince myself not to listen. But I did. I moved a little closer. Still couldn't hear clearly, but I caught a few fragments. Not enough to make full sentences, just bits like, "I know. He's starting to. I'll figure it out." My heart was pounding so hard I thought she'd hear it through the door. "He's starting to what?" That's the part that stuck. I backed away before I could hear more. I didn't want to get caught standing there like some paranoid creep. When she came back out later, she acted completely normal. Maybe even a little too normal, like she was overcompensating. She sat next to me, leaned in, asked me about my day. And I remember thinking how weird it felt. Because physically, she was right there next to me. But it felt like she was already somewhere else. At this point, I wasn't sleeping properly. Every little thing kept replaying in my head like some messed up highlight reel. The message, the location, the whispers, the lies that didn't even make sense anymore. And the worst part? I still didn't confront her. I kept telling myself I needed something solid. Something undeniable. Not just gut feelings and half-heard conversations. Yeah, that turned me into someone I didn't recognize. A few days later, I did something I'm not proud of. She left her laptop open on the dining table while she went out to grab groceries. Another normal excuse. Another thing I probably would have ignored before. This time, I didn't. I sat there for a good minute, just staring at it, arguing with myself. Her messages were open, not even hidden, just there. I didn't even have to search. And yeah, that's when everything blew up. There was a chat thread pinned at the top. Same name as the one from her phone. I clicked it. I wish I could say I misunderstood something. I didn't. It wasn't just flirting. It wasn't, maybe inappropriate, but harmless. It was detailed, personal, emotional, physical, talking about nights they spent together. Jokes, inside references, plans. That word hit like a punch to the chest. This wasn't some one-time mistake. This was ongoing. And the part that completely broke me? She was a completely different person in those messages. Soft, warm, open. The exact opposite of how she'd been treating me for months. I just sat there, scrolling, feeling like I was watching my entire relationship get rewritten in real time. And I don't even know how long I sat there before I heard the front door open. She was home. I didn't even have time to process what I'd just seen. The second I heard the door open, my whole body just locked up. Laptop still open. That chat still on the screen. My brain was screaming do something, but I couldn't move. She walked in like it was any normal day. Keys on the table, shoes off, casual hey. Then she looked up and froze. I've never seen her face change that fast. It was instant, like a switch flipped. That calm, slightly annoyed expression she'd been wearing for months? Gone. Replaced with pure panic. For a second, neither of us said anything. Then she rushed over and snapped the laptop shut so hard it made me flinch. "What are you doing?" she said, sharp, almost aggressive. And I remembered just staring at her, because, seriously? That's what she went with. Not "I'm sorry." Not even trying to explain. Just straight to anger. I asked her as calmly as I could, "Who is he?" She didn't answer. Just crossed her arms, defensive posture, eyes already narrowing like she was preparing for a fight. "You went through my stuff?" she shot back. There it was. Deflection. I felt something in me rising in me. "Who is he?" She rolled her eyes. Actually rolled her eyes. "It's not what you think." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so predictable it felt unreal. I told her I read the messages. All of them. And that's when things really escalated. The second I said I read everything, her whole attitude changed again. Not to guilt. Not to honesty. To control. She took a step back, crossed her arms tighter, and just stared at me like she was calculating her next move. "Okay," she said flatly. "Then you already know." No apology. No panic anymore. Just cold. I felt this mix of anger and disbelief rising in me. "Know what exactly?" I asked. "That you've been lying to me for months? That you're seeing someone else behind my back?" She sighed. Actually sighed, like this was exhausting for her. "It's not that simple." That line. I swear it triggered something in me. I told her there is nothing complicated about cheating. And then she hit me with the first real attempt at justification. "We were already falling apart," she said. "You just didn't notice." I just stood there. I asked her, "When did it start?" She hesitated. Just for a second. "Does it matter?" Then, "A few months, okay?" I didn't plan it. A few months. Right around when everything started changing. I felt like the timeline just locked into place. Then I asked, "Do you have feelings for him?" She didn't even look away. "Yes." That didn't hit all at once. It settled in. I nodded slowly. "Okay." She must have taken that as an opening. He actually listens to me. He's there for me in ways you haven't been. I told her I tried to talk. She shut it down every time. She didn't really respond. Then, I was going to tell you. When, eventually, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Did you tell him yet?" I showed her. Her face changed. "Don't." She answered a call from him. "Not now." Then, "He knows." And I realized I was inside something I wasn't even fully aware of. A parallel life. After the call ended, the apartment felt different. She finally looked at me. "What now?" "I don't know." Then, "I didn't think you'd find out like this." "So you did plan to tell me?" "Eventually." "He doesn't want me to leave him either. I don't want to lose either of you." That was the moment I realized I wasn't part of a relationship anymore. I was part of a situation. My phone buzzed. Screenshot. Her messages to him. Saying we were separated. Saying I was emotionally abusive. Saying she had to manage things. And a message. "You deserve to know the full truth." She said, "I had to make it easier. I didn't want to hurt you. You didn't accidentally do any of this. I didn't know how to get out of it. I'm done. We're separating." Before I left, I said, "The worst part isn't what you did. It's how long you let me live in a lie." And I walked out.